So today we'll be looking at question 1272, remove intervals. A quick overview of the question. Given a set of intervals and one interval that says to be removed, you go over the intervals, and if there's an overlap between the interval that we have to remove, you just have to clean that up. So in the first example, we have 0, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 7. We look at the first interval 0 and 2. It overlaps with 1 and 6. So what you would do is you would just reduce this to 0 and 1. And then you go to the next one, 3 and 4, and this interval is between 1 and 6, so you would just remove that. That wouldn't even be included in the resulting output. And the next one is 5 and 7. 5 and 7, the interval that has to be removed starts with 6, so 5 is removed, it starts with 6 and 7. Yeah, and then the second example, if you look at it, we have one interval 0 and 5, and the interval that has to be removed is 2 and 3, so you just split that up. So the first one will go from 0 and 2, and the second will go from 3 and 5. Not a very difficult question, but in terms of understanding how exactly to solve it, you need to understand like 3 main conditions, and let's go over that right now. So the approach that we will be taking is going over every single interval in the given 2D array, and then we'll check for conditions. The first condition that we check for is, hey, is there an overlap or not? And if we do not have an overlap, we add the given interval as is. But if there is an overlap, we see what we have to do. So let's go over the pseudocode really quickly. So we initialize 2 variables called restricted start and restricted end, and they're just assigned from to be removed, the first element and the second element. And the reason why I have these separate variables is because it's easier to understand when you look at the code together. And we have a for loop, and for each for loop we have current start and current end. So we know that there isn't an overlap in the intervals when the current start is a lot greater than the restricted end. That means your current, if everything was added together in one particular 2D array, and you also add the restricted interval like this into the given array, you will see that your interval will occur to the left of the current interval. So the restricted interval will occur to the left of the current interval, and we know that in that case for sure we do not have an overlap. And the second case is when your interval that you want to remove, it is to the right in a sorted array. So your current end is less than or equal to the current start. So if the interval that has to be removed either occurs to the left or to the right of the current interval that you're looking at in a sorted array, you know that there's no overlap. So you just add the array as is. But if these conditions are not met, you know for sure that there is an overlap. But there are 2 conditions. There are conditions where there's an overlap only with the start, or there's an overlap when there's only with the end, with the end of the interval. So let's look at both of these conditions. We know that there is an overlap with the start if the restricted start is greater than the current end. So it kind of looks like it's coming in. So in a sorted array, if you want to overlap them, you would see that the current start would cross. No, the restricted start would cross the current end. Thereby there's that overlap, and you want to make sure that anything after the current start is removed, right? So for that, you would add a new interval that would say, hey, take the start, which is the current start, and then you would end it at the restricted start. So thereby you're just covering the section that is allowed. So it kind of would look like this. So let's say this is the interval. The 2 lines that I've added right now is like the current start and the current end, and these 2 lines that I'm adding, for example, okay, these 2, let's just say that this line, okay, so let's just say like this represents the current start, right? And then you want to make sure that nothing in this current start is actually included. So you would add only this part, the part that I'm highlighting right now. You would want to add that to the resultant array. So thereby the interval that you're adding starts from current start and it ends at restricted start. So that is the interval we're adding right now. And then the second interval is, oh hey, like the current end is greater than the restricted start, right? So again, let's do the same thing. So the current end, which I'm highlighting right now, that is greater than the restricted start. So you want to make sure that anything before that, so if this is the interval that shouldn't be added, so anything between that is not added. So you would add everything that starts with restricted end right here and then would end with current end right here. So these two, this right here, what you see, it's kind of in the first line, in the first if condition, you're adding this part, and in the second line, in the second if condition, you're adding this part. I hope that makes sense visually and code-wise. So let's start coding that right now. So let's start off with initializing the resulting yeah, there was the list that you have to return. We'll just copy this from here. Control C, Control V, int and int. Yeah. Then I wonder if I could just copy this right here. Copy, paste. It's a little off, but okay. So we tap that for I in for int a particular array in interval s intervals. Yeah, let's add the brackets. All this goes in here. Yeah, initialize them nicely. Int current start and current end. So current start, if it's greater than or equal to restricted end, you don't really do anything, just add as is. So it's kind of arrays the as list. Yeah. And else there is an overlap. Let's add this. Where is this coming from? Right. Or oh yeah, just tab this. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Tab. Yeah. So this is good. Matching brackets. Then in the end, you would just return the resulting array. Sorry, resulting list. Add this and this. Okay, so the brackets are okay and they're matching. So if the restricted start is greater than restricted end, you would add them to the resulting, and then you would do the same thing with this one. Okay, so seems like it's okay. Let's quickly just run this and make sure there's no compile errors. Yeah, right. Oh, wait. Cool. Okay, so the base case passed, and then yeah, all of the other cases passed as well. Yeah, so let me know if you have any questions. It was honestly a fun problem to solve and explain. Yeah, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If there are any questions that you want me to solve, let me know in the comments below as well. See ya.